Woody Allen has often said that The Purple Rose of Cairo is one of his favorite films. And 30 years later, he ended up making another one almost just like it, maybe even better than the original. It's not that hard to notice. Midnight in Paris is strikingly similar to The Purple Rose of Cairo. Both stories carry that same nostalgic weight and take place roughly in the same period, between the two world wars. But more obviously, both films are about the very same thing: escaping reality. Cecilia wanted to leave behind her hard, gray life in the crisis of 29 and lose herself in the world of the movies. And Gil Pender wanted to escape his life as a struggling writer in Hollywood, and instead live in an idealized past in the 20s, in another supposedly golden age. And both, in their own way, were facing a harsh reality. For Cecilia, it was the harsh weight of the Great Depression. On top of that, she was surrounded by people, especially her husband, who abused her, were selfish, cold, and dismissive. Gil, on the other hand, didn't face material crisis, but lived in a shallow, superficial world. He was surrounded by people who thought dreaming, or even having a romantic view of life, was nothing but fantasy. For them, seeking beauty in everyday life was simply unrealistic. At the same time that they truly faced real struggles, both protagonists also reveal the danger of, because of it, becoming disconnected from society and from shared life. Of course, it's true, Cecilia did have to deal with an abusive husband, and Gil had to endure pedantic pseudo-intellectuals, but in reacting to all that, they risk falling into the trap of egoism and isolating yourself in your own little bubble, thinking, "Oh, these idiots just don't understand me." In doing so, you might cut yourself off from life in common with others. And of course, both characters found in art a way of escape, a refuge and a huge source of consolation. For Cecilia, it was cinema. For Gil Pender, it was literature. But we find in these stories that art is often produced in backstage environments full of rotten compromises, by unbalanced artists, imperfect, selfish, broken people, or by those obsessed with money, fame, and success. Woody Allen himself pointed this out in other films, like Bullets Over Broadway. However, paradoxically, even if it's born from chaotic or immoral lives, art still opens a portal to beauty. It's still capable of lifting us and giving us a glimpse of something transcendent, an instrument that elevates us, reconciles us with meaning, and allows us to touch something greater. Nonetheless, the very fact that we are surrounded in our daily lives by selfish, petty, or even cruel people, along with life's ordinary hardships, also points to the common thread of Woody Allen's characters, a deep dissatisfaction with the present, which reflects his entire life philosophy. For him, the present moment is always a source of unsatisfactions. It's messy, unstable, full of disappointments and of people who frustrate us. And so, again and again, his characters overflow with this dissatisfaction, whether with their work, their relationships, or their own place in life. But when Cecilia or Gil are given the magical chance to step into their dream world, they discover that problems exist there too, revealing that the perfect world imagined never turns out the way idealized. Once it becomes real, it comes with struggles, limits, and sacrifice. Because to make something real is precisely to face problems, understanding that reality is bigger than us, that it will never be exactly as we imagined, and that we have to fight for what we want, while living with what is possible in each moment. And 30 years after making The Purple Rose of Cairo, Woody Allen even seemed to find a more elaborate and satisfying answer to this whole problem.
You stay here though and this becomes your present, then pretty soon you'll start imagining another time was really was really the golden time. Yeah, that's, what the present is.
Reality will never be perfect, but it is all we have. It's here, in the present moment, in the messy real world, that our lives are truly lived, not in fantasies inside our heads. At the end of the day, we've got to remember, art is just a tool. Like anything else, it can be misused, whether by the artist who turns his pursuit of transcendence into addiction and self-destruction, like Fitzgerald in the 1920s, or by the spectator who uses art only as distraction and a bad escape, like Cecilia. In other words, the real power of art is when it inspires us to return to reality with renewed strength. We can overcome this agony and the pains of the present when, through the inspiration and elevation that art gives us, inspired by fictional characters, we stop just expressing pain or complaining, and instead face real life, embrace reality, and working to make things real. This way, we may realize that beauty is not found only on the screen or in the imagined past. It happens when we live well in the present, when we become the good, kind, generous person others can rely on. When we choose to love those around us. Then, life itself, and not just fiction, becomes something worth living. Because in the end, beauty is not in escaping reality, but in transforming reality itself into something beautiful, through love.